day has finally arrived. I got the shock back from being rebuilt from velocity calibrations, and it's all cleaned up and looking absolutely gorgeous. It even got a little O-ring added to the shock shaft to kind of tell the suspension travel, so that's kind of neat. Look how nicely it cleaned up. It looks brand new. I did keep the spring, the stock spring weight, because it's actually the right spring, which is this 80 weight spring, for my weight. So just leave that alone. It could be that just simply having the shock rebuilt, having all the linkages greased back up, could make it ride a bit smoother than I had been experiencing. So we will just find out after I'm able to actually get this out on the road. Now, obviously in previous videos, I cleaned up the swing arm, re-greased all of the pivot points, rebuilt the rear hub. So this thing is all ready to go back together. Let's get started. "31 foot-pounds. "31 foot-pounds. "31 foot-pounds. Now, to do this next part, you do need to have two 20mm sockets so you can hold one side of the swing arm pivot bolt and tighten the nut on the other. "53 foot-pounds. 19 foot-pounds. So here's a fun little thing that's happened. I had every intention to reuse the old chain, which is the original chain to the bike. And I had no reason to think I couldn't do that because usually you just install a new master link and you're on your way. However, I've come to find that this chain is no longer made. It's completely obsolete and there aren't actually master links made for it anymore. I naively thought I could just go to DID and pick up their equivalent master link, which is a 525 size. It's the 525 VX3, and that it could just slide in there and voila. But no, actually the pins are larger diameter than the chain holes. So what we're left with is a completely worthless chain now. So just a word of caution for anyone that might be doing something similar on their Ducati from this era. The DID 525 HV2 chain is no longer serviceable. You cannot find a master link. I mean, that's not to say there isn't a master link maybe out there that could fit, but DID doesn't make it. So keep that in mind. So how do I get myself out of this situation? Well, I've gone ahead and bought a new chain. I've always wanted a gold chain on this bike, so now's my opportunity to do that. I picked up a new DID chain, which we'll take a look at here in a second. Now, whenever you install a new chain, you really should replace the sprockets at the same time since they wear together. However, changing the sprockets on one of these bikes is not a cheap endeavor, as with pretty much everything on these bikes, and that's because of the rear sprocket setup. You can see it's not just a flat plate of steel like you'd see on your run-of-the-mill Japanese sport bike. No, these are only made by Ducati and they're about $250 a piece. And a pretty frequent upgrade that owners do is install what's called a quick change rear sprocket carrier and sprocket set, which also happens to cost about $250-ish. And what that allows you to do is remove the sprocket without having to remove the hub from the bike, which is really handy and nice. But guess what? It's still $250. It's still a pretty sizable investment when I wasn't planning on spending that anyways. Even still, I've gone ahead and ordered a quick change rear sprocket set and a new front sprocket, each with a standard number of teeth, which are 15 in the front and 38 in the rear. This little Masterlink fiasco has added another $450 to this job's bill. Anyway, those new sprockets won't arrive for at least another week and a half, so in order to keep this video moving, I'm going to go ahead and install the chain and assemble the rest of the bike with the old sprockets, mainly because I hate storing this bike on these jack stands. Then, at the very end of this video, I'll show the new sprockets going in. Now, getting over here to the bench, here is this brand new chain I've picked up. DID's, I think, top of the line chain is the VX3, so it's an X-ring O-ring chain, and it is a riveted Masterlink that it comes with. And importantly, it's gold, it's beautiful. I think it'll look so good once it's installed. This chain is 100 links long, and the standard chain is 98 links, or 97 plus the Masterlink, so it comes out to 98 links. So I'll need to shorten this down 3 links so it'll fit the bike. So this one you just kind of eyeball, but generally you want the plate to be aligned with the other plates in the chain when you're pressing that on. Might do just a little bit more. Perfect. So that is 5.84 millimeters. The specs on this are between 5.7 and 5.9, so that is perfectly within the range. That one is 5.86. So also within the range. That is the chain installed. Now it's time to tighten the eccentric bolts. You tighten these in a 1-to-1 pattern. It is 26 foot-pounds. $170 foot-pounds. This one's also 170 foot-pounds. And here are the new sprockets, the new hub, quick change hub carrier and sprocket made by Superlight, and then a new Superlight front sprocket. Pretty nice looking parts, and I'd hope so because they weren't exactly cheap. Now again, these are standard teeth, so 38 and 15 front, and then a new lock washer, just a good idea to replace these whenever changing the front sprocket. All right, let's get these installed. So the gearbox is in neutral, and I'm going to be holding the back brake so that I can break loose that nut. Well, that was kind of a pain, but it is possible to remove this without having to break the chain. Now you can see the width of the top of the teeth on the old gear is a bit thinner, and that just happens with wear, especially on a high torque V-twin like this. You're going to see these worn valleys like that. The new gear, pretty thick on the top. And that's why you want to change your sprockets at the same time as you do the chain, because these gaps create slack and then it just ratchets between the links and it can wear them out even faster. Not to mention this wears down even faster to the point where you might not even have teeth left. So it gets expensive, especially on this bike, to do it all, but it is worthwhile, as you can see. There. 137 foot-pounds. So now we've got to swap over this carrier, or whatever you might call it, this hub plate that has the splines on it, to the new sprocket. But you have to remove these Cush drives, and you can't just unscrew or undo the nuts that hold them in there, because this metal portion will spin. So this has a hex. It's a 12mm hex that you have to hold in place. Kind of MacGyvering something here with the bench vise. Got a 3/8 ratchet to kind of keep that in place. And then I'm gonna put the ratchet itself in the vise so that it can't move. Here's the one. And there we have the new sprockets installed with the new chain. I have to say, they look really sharp on the bike with that black finish on them. With the gold chain, it does look really nice. Now this is a super light aluminum rear quick change carrier, and I've heard some mixed reviews about the longevity of this part. Some people have troubles with the backside getting worn away over time and a lot of slop developing in the carrier itself. But then I've heard reports of long life out of these things. People get 3 sets of chains out of them and still no problem. So I don't know if there's a manufacturing defect with some of the ones that were distributed or not. But since it's basically the same price as a new sprocket from Ducati, I figure I might as well give it a shot and be able to change the sprockets later on for much less than the price of a new Ducati sprocket. It rotates so smoothly now with that new bearing, new chains. Very pleased with that result. Now moving on to something that's a little bit off topic, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me wanting to buy these rectifier regulator relocation brackets. Now I made one of these in video, a couple of years back, and I've had people come to me saying, hey, can I buy one of those from you? Well, the answer now is yes. I have made a run of these. They're made of nice aluminum plate, nice aluminum standoffs, black hardware. So if you are interested in buying one, check the link in the description of the video or the link above where you can go to buy one. Obviously they fit up really nicely. does not stand out when the fairings are installed. Now, the kit does not include the wiring or the rectifier itself, and the relocation bracket really only is fitted for one of these Shindingen MOSFET style regulators, so you can't use the stock regulator with this without basically having to re-drill different holes. So just an aside, if you're interested in one of those, check the link in the description. And there it is, all put back together. I have to say it, I keep saying it, this is such a beautiful bike. This dark gray / graphite color, gold wheels, gold frame, it always is so stunning when it's freshly cleaned up. I did add one more thing. I wanted to bling out the rear since I'm already started on it anyways. Put these fancy aluminum sprocket nuts on there. I torqued those to 32 foot-pounds. There isn't really a torque value that I could find, but figured they'd be the same as the carrier itself. So that's what I've done. All back together. Shock is in there. Swing arm is all lubricated up. Now I wish I could go ride this and figure out, hey, does it feel plusher now? But unfortunately, winter's still very much here. It's very cold, salt everywhere. So we'll have to wait till properly warm weather before I can really get this out to try it out. Now, for anyone who has a 1098 or 1198 or even 848, and you're curious about all the parts I've used to put this bike together like you see here, I have put together a parts list, and you can find that link in the description of this video. It should help you locate all the parts quickly for reasonable prices. A lot of research has gone in on my part to figure out what works for this bike and what these bikes truly need. So hopefully the videos help supplement that knowledge for you all. That's all we're doing in this video. Thank you all for watching. There'll be more content coming soon, especially on the Vespa front. But until then, we'll see you all again next time.